Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking they're going to destroy their entire reputation with one text. But that's exactly what I did half asleep. Thumbs moving faster than my brain. I sent a message that should have gone to my best friend. To my coach. My straight, intimidating, no-nonsense, 6'2" coach. And now, hours later, I'm pacing my dorm room like a caged animal because he didn't just ignore it. He actually replied. The day had started normally enough. Practice at 6 a.m. My sneakers pounding against the gym floor, sweat dripping down my temples. The sound of Coach Miller's whistle sharp enough to cut through my skull. He was the kind of guy everyone both feared and admired, muscles that looked carved from stone. A jawline sharp enough to slice paper. And this presence that could make you straighten your back even if you weren't the one in trouble. I respected him, adored him, maybe more than I should admit. But he was untouchable. Or at least he was until I sent him that text. It was supposed to be a stupid inside joke between me and my roommate. I'd been whining about how my type was basically men who look like they could ruin my life but secretly have soft hands. And my roommate dared me to draft a thirst trap text. Something over the top. Something like, "Coach, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm going to forget we're supposed to be doing drills and start doing you." Ridiculous, right? Absolutely inappropriate. The kind of thing you laugh about in the safety of friendship, not the kind of thing you ever send. But my fingers betrayed me. One swipe, one slip, and suddenly that very text was flying off to the man who could end my scholarship with a single word. I froze. My stomach dropped into my shoes. I must have reread the screen 20 times before reality sank in. The message had gone through. Delivered. There was no taking it back. I imagined the look on his face when he saw it. The tightening jaw, the cold silence, the way he'd call me into his office and tell me I was done. Expelled from the team, maybe even from the school. So when my phone buzzed, I nearly threw it across the room. The notification glared back at me. Coach Miller. Meet me tonight. 9 p.m. My office. My first thought, I'm dead. My second thought, why does my heart feel like it's about to sprint a marathon? All day I tried to act normal. In class, I doodled in my notebook while my professor talked about the Reconstruction era. At lunch, I sat with my teammates, laughing at jokes I barely registered. But underneath, every nerve in my body buzzed with panic. Because what did that text mean? Did he want to kick me off the team in person? Did he want to humiliate me face to face? Around this was the dangerous thought I couldn't shut down. Did he want something else entirely? By the time evening rolled around, my nerves were frayed to pieces. I stood in front of the mirror in my dorm's communal bathroom, staring at myself like the reflection might offer answers. My hoodie felt too casual, my hair too messy. Did it matter? This wasn't a date. God, it couldn't be a date. And yet my hands kept twitching to fix my hair, adjust my collar, try to look better. When I finally left the dorm, the autumn air slapped me awake. Crisp, cool, the kind that carried the smell of dry leaves and hinted at winter. My sneakers scuffed against the pavement as I made my way across campus toward the athletic building, each step heavier than the last. I half expected to see him standing outside already, arms crossed, disappointment etched across his face. But the entrance was empty, the hallways dark except for the faint glow of emergency lights. When I reached his office door, my hand hovered over the handle, trembling. Then I heard his voice, deep, calm, unmistakable. Come in. The room was dimly lit, only a desk lamp casting warm light across stacks of papers and a laptop. Coach Miller sat behind the desk, posture straight, his eyes fixed on me the second I stepped inside. If I thought he was intimidating on the court, it was nothing compared to this. Here, in the quiet, his presence filled every corner of the room. I swallowed hard. Coach, "Tu didn't mean, sit," he interrupted, nodding toward the chair across from him. I obeyed, my legs shaky. For a moment, silence hung between us. I could hear the faint hum of the heating system, the ticking of a clock on the wall. His gaze never left mine, unreadable. Finally, he leaned back in his chair. You want to tell me what that text was about? My throat closed up. I wanted to lie, say it was a prank, a mistake, that my phone had been stolen. but something in his expression told me he'd see right through it. So instead, I whispered, "It wasn't meant for you. It was supposed to be a joke with a friend." His eyebrow arched slightly. "A joke?" "Yeah. I would never, you're my coach. I respect you. I didn't want you to think that you were serious." His voice was calm, but there was something in his tone I couldn't pin down. I nodded quickly, heat burning my cheeks. He studied me for a long moment, then stood. My heart jumped into my throat as he rounded the desk and leaned against it, arms crossed. Suddenly he was inches away, towering over me. "But what if I told you I didn't take it as a joke?" The words hit me like a punch. I blinked up at him, brain stuttering. "What?" His jaw tightened, his gaze dropping briefly before locking back on mine. "You think you're the only one who's been distracted? The only one who's noticed?" Couldn't breathe. My lungs felt like they'd shrunk. "You've been on my team for 2 years," he continued, voice low, almost a growl. "You push yourself harder than anyone else. You get under my skin in ways I can't explain." And that text, he let out a short, humorless laugh. "That text just made me admit what I've been trying to ignore." My mouth went dry. The ground beneath me tilted. "You can't," I managed to choke out. "You're my coach. This is wrong." He didn't flinch. "Maybe it is. But I'm tired of pretending I don't feel it." In that moment, the air between us shifted. Charged. Dangerous. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to protect myself, to remember the consequences. But beneath the fear, a truth pulsed steady and undeniable. I wanted him. I'd wanted him longer than I cared to admit. I looked up into his eyes, searching for doubt, for hesitation. There was none. Only fire. My voice was barely a whisper. "So what happens now?" He leaned closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him, his scent soap, sweat, something uniquely him curling around me. "That depends," he said quietly. "Do you want this as much as I do?" I don't remember deciding to nod, but I did. And in that split second, everything changed. The second I nodded, I knew there was no going back. Coach Miller's eyes darkened. His jaw tense as though he'd been holding this in for months, maybe years. He wasn't the kind of man who made rash moves, yet here he was, towering above me, testing the boundary between what was forbidden and what was inevitable. My pulse hammered in my ears. I'd never felt so alive and so doomed at the same time. He didn't touch me, not yet. Instead, he studied me with an intensity that burned. It was as if he was giving me one last chance to back out, one last chance to pretend this was all a misunderstanding. But I didn't move. Couldn't. When his hand finally came to rest on the back of my chair, leaning just slightly closer, I thought my heart might break free from my chest. "You understand what this means?" he said, voice low, deliberate. I swallowed. "Yeah. You understand how dangerous this could be for both of us?" "Yeah." "And you still, yes." I cut in, sharper than I meant. My voice cracked, but the urgency in it was real. "Yes, I want this." For the first time that night, a flicker of relief crossed his face. A tiny, fleeting smile ghosted across his lips, gone almost as quickly as it appeared. Then, carefully, like he was afraid I might shatter, he touched my face. It was the simplest thing. His thumb brushing along my jawline, but it sent electricity sparking through every nerve. I closed my eyes, leaning into the warmth of his hand despite the warning sirens screaming in my head. "This is insane," I whispered. "I know," he murmured. His breath was so close, I could feel it stir against my skin. And then, finally, his lips touched mine. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was restrained power, years of discipline cracking open in an instant. His hands slid to the back of my neck, pulling me closer, deepening the kiss until the world outside that office ceased to exist. I clutched at his shirt, afraid he'd pull away, afraid he'd change his mind, but he didn't. He kissed me like a man starved, like he'd been waiting too damn long. When he finally broke away, we were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine, eyes shut, as if grounding himself. "This can't leave this room," he said firmly. I nodded, though my chest ached with the truth of it. I'd known from the start this wasn't something we could parade around. Not here. Not now. But even so, I couldn't regret it. We didn't talk much after that. He let me sit there, catching my breath, while he straightened his shirt and forced some semblance of composure back into his posture. "You need to go," he said after a while, his voice steadier, colder again. "Before anyone sees." The words stung, though I knew they were right. Still, a part of me wanted to stay, wanted to keep feeling like I belonged in his arms. But I pushed back my chair, stood, and forced a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "See you at practice tomorrow, coach." His lips twitched, almost a smile, almost regret. "Get some rest, kid." And just like that, the moment was over. I stumbled back across campus under the streetlights, my lips still tingling, my mind reeling. Felt like I was carrying a secret too big for my chest. And the worst or maybe best part? For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt light. Like maybe I'd touched something real, something worth the risk. But as soon as I pushed open the dorm door, reality came crashing back. "Where the hell have you been?" My roommate, Brandon, sat up in bed, his laptop casting blue light across his face. "Library," I lied automatically, kicking off my shoes. He narrowed his eyes. "Library, huh? At 9:30 at night?" "Sure. What did you do? Make out with a history textbook?" The words hit too close to home, and my face went hot. Brandon squinted, then leaned forward. "Wait, oh my God. You did. Who was it? Don't tell me you finally texted that guy from the coffee shop." I busied myself with my hoodie zipper, desperate to hide my expression. "Drop it, man." Which, of course, only made him grin wider. "Oh my God, you did. Look at you, blushing like a middle schooler." "Brandon." I shot him a warning glare. He threw his hands up. "Fine, fine. Keep your little romance a secret. Just don't screw it up." If only he knew. The next morning, practice felt like walking into a minefield. The gym smelled like sweat and rubber, the echo of sneakers squeaking on the polished floor bouncing off the high ceilings. My teammates joked and shoved each other like always, oblivious. And then Coach Miller walked in. I froze. He looked the same as he always did, serious, commanding, clipboard in hand, but I saw the difference. The memory of his lips against mine, the warmth of his hand on my face, burned in the back of my mind. When his gaze swept across the team and landed on me, it lingered for half a second too long. Barely noticeable, but enough to send my stomach flipping. Practice was brutal. Suicides, drills, push-ups until my arms trembled. He didn't let up, not once. If anything, he pushed me harder than usual, as if to prove nothing had changed. By the end, I was drenched in sweat, my muscles screaming. "Hit the showers," he barked, and the team shuffled off. I started to follow, but his voice cut through the noise. "Matt, stay behind." My chest tightened. The others shot me sympathetic looks. They thought I was in trouble, but no one suspected the truth. When the gym emptied, he set his clipboard down and crossed his arms. "You need to be careful," he said. "I know," I replied softly. "No, you don't." His tone was sharp. "If anyone finds out, it's over. For you, for me, for everything we've worked for. You'll lose your scholarship. I'll lose my job. You want that?" I shook my head, throat dry. "Then we keep this buried. You hear me?" I wanted to argue, wanted to ask him what we were supposed to do about the storm brewing between us, but the look in his eyes silenced me. "I hear you," I said. The weeks that followed were torture. We pretended nothing had happened, at least in public. He barked orders, I followed. On the surface, everything was normal, but beneath it all, tension simmered. Every glance held weight. Every brush of hands during drills sent jolts through me. I caught myself staring too long, biting back words I couldn't say. And sometimes late at night, when my phone buzzed, I'd find messages from him. Short, careful, but enough to keep me hooked. "Can't stop thinking about you. Be smart. Keep it together. Wish things were different." It was both heaven and hell. Then came the away game. We were crammed into a bus, half the team snoring, the other half glued to their phones. I sat near the back, headphones in, pretending to scroll while sneaking glances toward the front where Coach sat. At one point he turned, just briefly, his eyes meeting mine across the aisle. The corner of his mouth twitched, like a secret smile only I could see. And in that moment, I felt invincible. But invincibility has a way of shattering fast. After the game, a brutal win that left us all sweaty and exhausted, we crashed at a hotel. 2 players per room. I ended up bunking with Brandon, who passed out almost instantly, his snores rattling the walls. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, wide awake. Then my phone buzzed. Room 307. Now, my breath caught. It was him. Without thinking, I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Brandon, and padded down the hall. My heart pounded with every step. When I knocked, the door opened almost immediately. He pulled me inside before I could speak. And then his mouth was on mine again. This time, there was no hesitation. No cautious testing of boundaries. Just raw, unfiltered need. His hands gripped my waist. My fingers tangled in his shirt. And we stumbled backward until my back hit the wall. His kiss was rough, urgent, like he'd been holding back too long. God, you drive me insane, he muttered against my lips. You think you're any better? I whispered, breathless. He chuckled, low and dark, before kissing me again. Harder this time. For a while, nothing existed outside that hotel room. Just us. Just the truth neither of us could hide anymore. But even in the haze of desire, reality crept in. When we finally broke apart, gasping for air, his forehead pressed against mine, I could see the conflict in his eyes. This is going to destroy us, he said quietly. Or it could save us, I countered. He stared at me, torn between fear and hope. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about attraction anymore. It was about something bigger, something worth fighting for. The morning after the hotel room felt like waking from a dream I wasn't ready to end. The alarm on my phone blared at 6 a.m., sharp and merciless, yanking me back into reality. Brandon groaned, rolled over, and pulled a pillow over his head. I sat up, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, trying to erase the taste of last night still lingering on my lips. Except I didn't want to erase it. I wanted to hold onto it forever. The heat of his hands on my waist. The way he whispered like I was both his biggest mistake and the only thing keeping him alive. But as soon as we filed onto the bus for the ride back to campus, Coach was back to being Coach. Clipboard in hand, voice clipped, posture rigid. He didn't so much as glance my way, not once during the entire ride. And that was when it hit me. Last night was a secret so fragile it might already be breaking. Campus buzzed with weekend energy when we got back. Students spilled across the lawns, music blasting from dorm windows, laughter echoing through the crisp air. It all felt too normal compared to the storm raging inside me. Brandon elbowed me as we hauled our bags up the stairs. Dude, you were dead last night. I could have set off fireworks and you wouldn't have moved. I forced a laugh. Yeah, guess I was wiped. Guess? You didn't even twitch when I dropped my phone on your bed. He smirked. So who's keeping you up at night, huh? Brandon, I'm kidding. Relax. But the glint in his eyes said he wasn't kidding at all. Practice the next day was hell. Coach pushed us until our legs nearly gave out, his whistle slicing through the air like a knife. I knew what he was doing, keeping his distance, building walls. And maybe he was right. Maybe that was the only way this could survive. But every time our eyes met, even for a fraction of a second, I felt the crack in the wall widen. And then it happened. After drills, the team gathered in the locker room, voices bouncing off the tiled walls. I was peeling off my shirt when one of the guys, Jake, waved his phone around. Yo, check this out, he laughed. Somebody left their phone unlocked in the bus yesterday. I swear, I saw a text pop up, but I didn't recognize the name. My stomach turned to ice. What did it say? Another teammate asked. Jake grinned. Didn't read the whole thing, but it was something like, wish things were different. Sounded, I don't know, kinda sappy. The guys howled with laughter, tossing jokes back and forth. Bet it was Matt, one of them teased. He's always blushing like he's in a rom-com. I tried to laugh too, but my chest was tight, because if anyone had seen that message, if anyone connected it to me, or worse, to him, it was over. That night, my phone buzzed. "Coach Miller, we need to talk." My office. Midnight. When I arrived, the office was dark except for the glow of his desk lamp. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, his jaw tight. "Close the door," he said. I did. "Tell me the truth." His voice was sharp, cutting. "Has anyone seen our messages?" I froze. "No, I don't think so." "You don't think?" He slammed his hand against the desk, making me jump. "Matt, this isn't a game. If anyone finds out, it's over. I'm not just talking about your scholarship, I am talking about my entire career. Everything I've built." The anger in his voice sliced through me, but beneath it, I heard the fear. "I'm being careful," I whispered. "Not careful enough." His eyes blazed. "You need to understand something. I can't protect you if this gets out. I can barely protect myself." The word stung worse than a slap. "So what, you regret it?" His jaw clenched. He didn't answer, and that silence told me everything. I turned to leave, my chest hollow, but his voice stopped me. "Matt." I froze. When I looked back, his face had softened, all the sharp edges gone. "I don't regret you," he said quietly. "I regret the world we live in. I regret that you have to carry this weight because of me." My throat burned. Before I could respond, he crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled me into his arms. The hug was desperate, almost painful, his hand pressed tight against the back of my head. I buried my face against his chest, breathing him in, clinging like the world outside might tear us apart. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted, voice cracking. "Then we'll figure it out," I whispered, and in that moment I believed it. The following weeks were a blur of secrecy. Midnight meetings in his office, stolen glances during practice, quick, hidden touches that left my skin burning for hours afterward. But hiding something that intense was like trying to hold back a flood with your bare hands. It only took one slip. It happened at an away tournament. Tensions were high, the crowd loud, the game brutal. By the time the final whistle blew, we were sweaty, bruised, and riding high on adrenaline. In the chaos, I caught his eye. He smiled, just a flicker, small and private, but real. And before I could stop myself, I smiled back. Someone noticed. Later, in the locker room, Jake cornered me. "What's going on with you and Coach?" His tone was half joking, half deadly serious. My chest seized. "What? Nothing." He smirked. "Come on, man. I saw that look. You two got some secret handshake or something?" I forced a laugh, shoving past him. "You're imagining things." But his eyes lingered, suspicious. And that was when I realized the walls were closing in. The breaking point came faster than I expected. One night, after practice, I walked into his office to find him pacing, phone in hand, face pale. "What happened?" I asked, heart racing. He looked up, and for the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. "Somebody knows." I felt the floor drop out from under me. "What do you mean?" "I got an anonymous message." He handed me his phone. The screen showed a text. "I know about you and your player. Tell anyone and the whole team finds out." My stomach lurched. "They could ruin us," he said, voice shaking. "One text, one screenshot. That's all it takes." I stared at him, my chest tight. "So what do we do?" He didn't answer, because the truth was, neither of us knew. That night, lying awake in my dorm bed, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about us anymore. It wasn't just about what we wanted or what we were willing to risk. It was about survival. And I had no idea if love was strong enough to save us. The text haunted both of us. For days, we lived like shadows, speaking only when necessary, stealing fewer and fewer glances. He buried himself in work, barking at the team louder than ever, while I pretended my chest wasn't collapsing in on itself. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach twisted. Was it them? Was this the moment everything came crashing down? But the message never came again. Whoever it was, they were waiting, watching, and the silence was worse than the threat. The pressure cracked during practice one Thursday. My legs burned as we sprinted drill after drill, coach's whistle slicing through the gym like a blade. I pushed harder, trying to drown the fear with sweat. Then Jake muttered under his breath, just loud enough for me to hear, "Bet coach's favorite is getting tired." I froze. He smirked when our eyes met. "What? Can't handle being teacher's pet." Heat flared in my chest, but before I could fire back, Coach blew the whistle. "Matt, hustle." The moment passed, but the damage was done. Jake knew something. Maybe not everything, but enough to twist the knife. That night, Coach called me to his office. He looked worn down, shoulders slumped, like the weight of the world sat on them. "We can't keep doing this," he said. The words sliced through me. "You're breaking up with me?" "Matt, no. Don't say it like that. Say it for what it is. You're giving up." He slammed his fist against the desk, startling us both. "I'm trying to protect you. Don't you get it? I'm older. I'm your coach. I should have known better. If this explodes, you're the one who loses the most." Tears burned at the back of my eyes. "What if I don't care? What if you're the only thing I want?" He went quiet, his jaw tightened, eyes glistening. For a long moment he just stared at me, torn in two. And then, softly, he whispered, "I want you too. More than I should." The following weekend, everything came to a head. We were mid-game, the crowd roaring, sweat dripping down my spine as I darted across the court. The team was on fire, energy electric, and for a brief, shining moment, it felt like maybe we'd make it through. Then, during halftime, Brandon rushed up to me, his face pale. "Matt, someone posted something online. About you. About Coach." My blood turned cold. "What?" He shoved his phone at me. A blurry photo filled the screen. Me slipping into Coach's hotel room weeks ago. The caption read, "Guess practice isn't the only thing Coach is drilling." Laughter emojis filled the comments. Some were jokes, others cruel. And buried among them were words sharp enough to bleed me dry. Disgusting. Fire him. Kick the kid off the team. My chest caved in. The world spun. And when I looked up, across the court, Coach's eyes found mine. He'd seen it too. After the game, chaos erupted. Reporters lingered outside the locker room. Players whispered behind my back. The athletic director stormed in, demanding answers. But through it all, Coach stayed calm. When the director asked if the rumors were true, he didn't deny me. He didn't throw me under the bus. He stood tall, voice steady, and said, "I won't discuss my private life, but if this is about Matt, let me be clear. He's one of the most hardworking, dedicated athletes I've ever coached. Whatever you think you know, don't you dare take that from him." I'd never loved him more than in that moment. Still, the fallout was brutal. Whispers followed me across campus. A few teammates avoided me. Jake smirked every chance he got. But there were surprises, too. Brandon stuck by my side, cracking jokes like nothing had changed. A couple teammates slapped my back, muttering, "Don't let the assholes get to you." Even professors gave me small nods of support. The world hadn't ended. Not completely. And Coach? He didn't run. One night, weeks later, we sat together in his office, the storm outside rattling the windows. For the first time in months, he looked at peace. "They're still calling for my resignation," he said quietly. "Are you going to?" He shook his head. "No, I'm done hiding. If they want me gone, they'll have to drag me out. I won't give them the satisfaction." I stared at him, awe flooding my chest. "You'd risk everything for this?" "For me." His hand found mine across the desk, fingers threading together. "Matt, I've spent years living by everyone else's rules. I'm not doing it anymore. Not if it means losing you." The tears I'd been holding back finally spilled. I leaned across the desk, kissed him hard, tasting salt and rain and something fierce enough to survive the world's cruelty. The weeks stretched on. Rumors flared, then died. Some people whispered, some pointed fingers, but others quietly defended us. The team stuck together, the season rolled forward, And slowly, the noise faded. It wasn't easy. It would never be easy. But we carved out space for ourselves, piece by piece. Late nights in his office turned into early morning runs. Stolen moments in crowded gyms turned into open conversations in empty cafeterias. The fear never fully vanished, but the weight of it lessened when carried together. Graduation came faster than I expected. My parents beamed from the bleachers, cameras flashing, while my heart pounded for another reason entirely. Because waiting for me outside the ceremony was him. No clipboard, no whistle, just a man in a suit who had fought hell for us. He pulled me aside, away from the crowd. The air was warm, buzzing with summer. "You did it," he said softly. "We did it," I corrected. And then, for the first time in public, in broad daylight with the world watching if it wanted to, he kissed me. Not rushed, not secret, just a kiss. Honest, defiant. Ours. Later, lying in the grass as the sun dipped low, I thought about how far we'd come. From a stupid, accidental text to this two men scarred but standing together. We hadn't beaten the world. Not yet. But we'd found something worth every risk, every scar. Love. And that was enough. Years later, when people asked how we met, we laughed. We'd say it started with a mistake, a text meant for someone else. But privately, we knew the truth. It hadn't been a mistake at all. It had been the beginning of everything. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.